Alright, how's it going, YouTube? So, I got my K24 motor all built up. Last video you saw, we pulled out the FA20. I haven't made an update because the video that was supposed to come out was me installing the Type S oil pump, and my headpiece unit didn't capture any of that at all. It just captured the top of the engine and nothing else. But basically what happened was we got the Type S oil pump installed, new guide rods, new timing chain. It's all perfectly timed, top dead center. Got the timing cover powder coated, the header powder coated, tubular header, and then the K-Power intake manifold, which has the stock throttle body attached to it. Got the valve cover powder coated in this white, so we're going with a white and bronze theme for the engine bay. It's gonna look pretty good. And that's pretty much it. All of these pieces are new. So, new alternator, new water pump, new AC condenser. So we are running AC in the track car. If you look over here in the engine bay, I started prepping. So I removed the radiator and the AC condenser, so that way it's easier for me to jump inside of the engine bay. We pulled off the bracket, so I spot welded, spot drilled the spot welds and pulled that bracket out. Theoretically, K-Power says that you can actually keep this in here. It just gets in the way of the engine because it does sit so far back that you may get into some clearance issues with it. Remove the AC, that was fun. And now we're clearancing the subframe. So you can see right here, I already started it. I basically went ahead and hammered the edges down so it's flat. And you can see what the stock looks like. There's this lip right there. And that basically needs to be flat. And then once that's done, this bracket needs to be bent in more. Gonna need to hammer this piece right here so it's a little bit more flush in. And then down there in the trans tunnel, that side right there, we need to make a cut and hammer that side in so that way the transmission can sit a little bit farther back, because we are reusing the stock FA20 transmission. I'll get back once I complete that update, and yeah, I'll just come back. So I cleaned it up quite a bit. I do need to poke a hole right here for the clutch fork, or the clutch master slave cylinder. That's pretty much what it's gonna be like. Overall, I'm not excited about it because there's wrinkles and shit, and you know, I wish it was done a lot better, but considering what I had to work with, I like it. If I could do it all over again, I'd do it in two pieces. I'd do the top half as one, this bottom, and then this section right here link as one, this section right here as one, and then this section as one. So it'd be like in 4 different sections. But it's gonna get the job done. Once it gets heated in the engine bay and everything, it should stick a lot better, and it shouldn't have any issues. Walk with me. The engine, I already started mocking up the wiring harness. You can see it fits very, very well. This ground actually can go into this area right here, but I think I'm going to leave it right here. It's going to get a better ground here than that ground right there. I got this right here. I took out the sensor. I'm supposed to put in the Mishimoto one that comes with. I'm sorry, not Mishimoto, Mitsubishi sensor that it comes with. And this will plug into the sensor itself. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a little T so I can plug the Mishimoto one in and my aftermarket oil pressure sensor so I can actually have my physical gauge working. So that's what's going to do. That's what I'm going to do, and it's going to basically be like a T kind of sensor, so I'll have both plugged. This sensor right here for crank positioning, this one right here, cam positioning sensors are in, water neck is in, the transmission I put on. I put this in just to have it there. If there's any issues, I'll go ahead and swap it over, because this isn't just a straight kind of thing. It's bent over to one end, so I may have to flip it, I may not. There's clutch fork. I originally had the billet one, but now I have the forged one, because initially K-Power was supposed to release like kind of like a money shift style one, but they ended up not releasing that, and you just basically reuse your clutch slave cylinder and everything. So I have a braided clutch line that I'm going to put in and use the OEM slave. I was mocking things up. You have a knock sensor right here, condenser. This AC does not work. This AC is for a 2009 and up TSX. The one that I need is a 2008 and below TSX. So I'm gonna have to take off this brand new Denso one and replace it with like a KYB, because Denso is not the OEM, I think, for the older models. They are for the newer models. So yeah. Also, if you run the K24 crank pulley that came stock, it won't fit with the K-tuned timing cover. It interferes right here, so I ordered a fluid dampener harmonic balancer to put on instead, and that's going to be a lot better. So we're going to do that instead. Unfortunate, but it's fine. Water pumps in, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything's going to be brand new accessories. I'm going to have a brand new pulley, so it's not going to look as old, but it's fine. And yeah, engine is looking pretty damn straight away. I got the injectors in, so I'm running OEM ones, because to be honest, I am not going to be pushing much power out of it. It's going to be NA. I got the intake manifold on with the OEM K24 intake manifold pressure. So I have both lines routed. Flip this over. I have both of these plugs in right now, and basically one is going to go to, I believe, the brake booster, and then the other one is going to plug into the crank. So I'm going to put a catch can in between there, catch any sort of crank pressure. And then this one right here is going to be vent to atmosphere, so I'm going to have vent to atmosphere. And maybe in the future, if I decide to get this repowder coated, I'll get two bungs welded right here where the cams are, for, you know, some more baffling, but it should be fine for what it is. When we go turbo, that's a different story. I'll probably do that. Maybe I'll buy the K-Power one, or K-Power or K-Tuned, because the K-Tuned one has bungs already done for you and everything as well. So but for as far as the engine goes, it's pretty much complete. It's ready to drop in, right? Just need to do a couple of small things left over. Back over here. So I need to cut this wiring and basically pull this OEM wiring harness back. I'm gonna need to undo the, basically on this side. This can actually extend all the way back to the actual alternator on this side. I just need to basically take this pin off and not have the housing, because it's going to interfere with the actual K24 starter. I already rotated this out of the way so we have heat. I am still rotating AC. We need to bang out this side right down here, and then I believe the same thing on the right side, so the passenger side, we're going to cut a slit in the transmission and bang out that the tunnel just a hair. It's a slight bit. So those are the last two things for the chassis to get prepped up. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and delete these two. I'm not running a return line system, not just yet. I want to, but I'm not doing that just yet. I have my flex fuel plugged in right here. So it goes into this line, it comes back out. It's going to plug straight into the barb for the fuel rail. So I have that. So I can run flex fuel and it should remain pretty much the same. I would like to add a fuel pressure regulator and a return line in the future. But as of right now, let's get this car running first and then we'll do that. Honestly, if I were to run a fuel return, I would keep this line. Who knows, I may just reinstall it. It won't be too hard to reinstall it. But basically just keep one line basically, and kind of have like the OEM way where it's like crimped on back here to that barb and plug it right in. And then on the other side where it tees out into these two lines from the fuel pump, we'll just extend it out and have it return on top of the fuel pump. You know, you drill a hole and you can put like a AN fitting on top of it or something. So all right, it's time to do the part that I've been dreading the most, and that is to cut a slit right here, so that way I can hammer in this edge right here, so that way the transmission, there's a sensor that sits up here, and since you're moving the transmission lower and back about 4 inches, it doesn't have room clearance for this right here, so we have to make clearance for it. So alright, so I made my cut. I get the hammer, hammer that bitch in. Not that much room to swing. Alright, that should be good enough. So we got that nice dent right there. So now it's time to clean up the engine bay, and then we'll go ahead and get the engine into the engine bay. Alright, so a lot has happened since the last clip. Aaron and I actually got the motor in. It was a pretty big hassle because we got it in one piece basically. I ended up lowering the subframe by about 2 inches, maybe about 2 inches. That helped out a lot, and we had to basically tip the transmission down a lot. Once it was tipped down a lot, the front engine mounts weren't quite lined up just yet, but once we basically leveled it out, the engine mounts kind of just fell right in, and once those fell right in, everything else just fell into place really easily. So I went ahead and did some of the wiring. So the starter wire is going all the way over to the actual starter, which is down there. The heater hose, these two heater hoses right here. So this one goes to the intake, right down there. You can see it right there. And then this one is going to the actual water pump itself. So there's like a joiner piece. Let me see if I can get you down in there. Yeah, so there's this joiner piece right here. And it joins the two and it connects to the water pump. So that goes into the heater core assembly, so I have heat. Would be kind of cool to retain like the OEM like kind of peacock style, where you can like crack it open and have bubbles come out. Maybe in the future I can like cut it and then I'll just splice it in. But right now I'm just sticking to what K-Power has. Intake manifold is bolted in. This is a separate harness, but that's all plugged in down there. This is going to basically go in and plug right into here for the brake booster. This one can be capped off. If not, you can plug it into the PCV, the crank valve, I think, right down in here. If not, you can actually go ahead and vent that. So I'm thinking about capping it off and actually having it just vented with a catch can. Yeah, belt's all routed properly. Engine mounts are torqued to 40 foot-pounds. I have a breather right here. This is some cheap Amazon breather. It's sandwiched in there, but it's just needing to do what it needs to do. My flex fuel is plugged into this fuel line, so it's a little rough right here. I would like to replace this piece with like a 90 in the future, so that way it doesn't, you know, kink it as bad. But that's fine for now. This will eventually be capped off, so I'll just take this right here and put a cap on it. Other than that, wiring is all plugged up. This goes into the oil sensor, which I have a T, which goes into my aftermarket oil pressure sensor. This plug is for your intake, I think intake temperatures or mass airflow sensor in the intake. So that's not going to be plugged in until I actually get the intake in. And then down below I have the drive shaft plugged in and everything. Transmission's all there. So it's starting to look like there's a motor and everything's in the car again and it's going to be running. So I'm going to end it right here. So a little update to everything. I've got the intake on now. We also had the header all in place. I added this little adapter piece right here, so that way I'm running the oil pressure sensor that comes with the kit. I'm running my own aftermarket one that I'm putting towards a gauge, and we have two more ports right here that I can do for oil temperature if I wanted to, and another one for a turbo feed in the future if I do decide to go turbo. So that's gonna be really cool. They do make a little vented cover right here with a dash 10 AN line, so that way you can do an oil return right here, and that way it goes back down into the sump from your turbo. So that is probably going to be the setup that I am going to be doing. You can see that the header goes all the way down. We got the water, the coolant lines kind of ran. I'm gonna be using distilled water with water wetter, because this is mainly going to be a track car. In the summer I'll probably just leave it open, and winter when it's colder and probably start it once a month kind of thing. You can see the lines down here. Water comes out and then back down into here with this little coupler down there. AC lines are ran. They're right there in the back of the block, comes up over where the cowl is and ran and tightened up where they're supposed to be with the condenser. Oh, well, AC condenser and then the AC radiator itself. So that's all good there. I'm going to be running a closed loop system. So there is a check valve right down in here for PCV, and then right here. So I'm going to run 2 lines that go to a catch can. This one's going to go right here to the brake booster for brake pressure. And then I put about six quarts of oil already, and that seems to be about where it likes it. Not running an oil cooler right now. If you want to know what type of oil it is, it's just break-in 5W30, cheapest you can get. The actual oil I'm going to be putting in is probably going to be closer to like a 10W30, similar to what the S2000 uses. Yeah, and then so that's it for the exterior wise. In the kit they also give you this kind of like alternator extension, which is that little red piece right there that basically it's a stud that comes out. You route your alternator wire over to here, you put the new extension wire, this one right here, and that'll wrap around to the actual alternator right there. Pretty cool. This is the little kind of like stopper for the dipstick, so it doesn't lift. These dipsticks like to lift apparently. So that's gonna be really nice. Flex fuel is installed and it's plugged into the actual main body harness. Pretty easy there. I removed the secondary fuel line. As you can see, it's not there. This is gonna get capped off. This is nothing at this point, but this vacuum line is gonna get capped off, and I'm not gonna run anything to that. Starters all plugged in, so starters in there. Yeah, it's in. It's all torqued to spec. Everything's living where it's supposed to be. The next step that we're gonna do is inside the car. It's a mess, but inside the car we're going to remove some panels, take out the old ECU, put in the new ECU jumper to connect to the Haltech ECU, so a little converter motherboard basically as a jumper. And then the back on the passenger side panel, we got to remove all that stuff and get to a fuel pump ECU. I think it controlled the direct injection fuel pump, and remove that and basically take out some wires and cap it, and that'll be good there. So after a long sweat of grinding, working, the K-swap is done. So as you can see, the header's all in. We had to burp the radiator fluid. I ended up buying a kind of like a the word's escaping me, but like it pulls vacuum on all the hoses, and then you turn it on and the vacuum will suck up all the coolant and therefore filling everything. So I ended up doing that, and there are no more there's no coolant leaks. At first I did a pressure test and I had issues where the heater hose in the back of the intercooler right back here, the threads, I didn't put Teflon tape on it, and it wasn't creating a good enough seal, causing air to be introduced, causing bubbles and stuff. So that was the whole entire issue. And then there was an issue where the head wasn't fully cleaned and fully because I guess previously, since this is a used motor from a Japanese car, probably a Honda Odyssey TSX style motor, there's just like coolant gunk that just crystallized and hardened. So I was scraping that off, and flat surface flange mated to it with the new manifold gasket. Perfect. Holds pressure, 1.1 bar, perfectly fine. Don't need to do anything else. Been driving it for over 100 miles now, total on the actual K motor itself, with tons of VTEC and dyno mileage, and it hasn't overheated. So good there. That was a big headache in its own. Now I was chasing down a oil leak, which I think I fixed, which we're gonna do a couple revs once it's up to temperature. But this crush washer didn't quite actually crush with the sensor that I had right here. So I tightened that up, and that should fix the issue. These Skunk 2s aren't the best. These bolts are like aluminum or something. So I would probably recommend if you decide to upgrade to these type of hardware, these beauty hardware, maybe upgrade the bolts to like a grade 8 bolt. That's the same thread pitch, same length. So that way it just actually clamps down a little bit better, because it was leaking out of this one as well. So little things to like look at, but all set, all good, runs great. Let's go ahead and get it started up so that way you guys can see it. It's pretty loud. The exhaust is full 3 inches back. It has one vibrant ultra quiet resonator and then a flex joint, and that's it. There's no mufflers in the car as of the moment. I can't get anything to work with the exhaust that I have, so I would have to ask for like a custom muffler setup. But we'll put you up here. Flip the camera down. There you go, and we'll start the car. Now I do have a tune already on the car itself. Steve from PRT, my local tuner, went ahead and tuned it on his Mustang dyno. So it makes, on his dyno, 211 wheel horsepower and about 290 wheel torque. And dyno jet number wise, that's about 240 wheel horsepower, which is great for such a light car. I already, with the engine swap itself, you lose about 150 pounds off of the F820. So the car itself, with driver, I weigh about 160. So it basically almost neglected my weight on the car itself. So that's really, really awesome. AC works. Right now the AC off, so the clutch packs are in, allowing that to spin freely. I can turn it on, and AC Freon works, everything pulled into myself. We'll wait until these fans kick on to actually start revving it to see if it fixed the oil leak. Alright, that looks really dry. That was revved up to 6,000 RPM a couple times. Everything looks really dry. I'll have to actually go out on the street and probably drive it around a little bit more to find out for sure, but I think we're good. I think that solved the oil leak right there.